Good evening. Welcome to Elyria City Council chambers for the regular City Council meeting for November 6th of 2023. At this time, I'd like to have a moment of reflective silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Getting back to the moment of reflective silence, I'd like to remember the family of Mr. George Crossan. Mr. George Crossan came to a lot of our council meetings almost from the inception of when I came on council, and he was very passionate about our city. And he left us here a week and a half ago or so. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Ms. Simmons, would you please lead us in the pledge? Thank you, Mrs. Simmons. If you would please turn your phones either to silent or off during the council meeting, it'd be greatly appreciated. Mr. Clerk, can I have roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Callahan.
Here.
Mr. Sira.
Here.
Mr. Oswald.
Here.
Mr. Corbin.
Here.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Tollett.
Here.
Mr. Lippian.
Here.
Mrs. Davis.
Here.
Mrs. Simmons.
Here.
Mr. Schneider.
Here.
Mr. Stewart.
Here.
All present.
Public hearings.
There are none.
Can I get approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sira, second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Remarks and reports from city officials. Mayor Whitfield.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, City Council members and residents here as well. I just want to speak really briefly about public safety and what we've been dealing with in the city. First off, I want to give a shout out to the Elyria Police Department, who's been, burning in at both ends of the candle, dealing with so many different situations in the city. And so I want to definitely give them a shout out because I know that it's wee hours in the morning where they're out there working, getting called in. So definitely want to give them a shout out. You know, one of the plans that we have is to try to increase the police force. And one way we've done that so far is, trying to make sure that we're providing signing bonuses to folks that come on. We're doing lateral transfers, new hires coming in and joining the academy. But recruitment is definitely a challenge right now nationally, but we want to be the exception here in Elyria. So one of the referrals I made to you all that we'll discuss, God willing, at next week's committee meeting is to look at our benefits and wages for our entry level or folks joining our force. I had the chance to meet with a couple of you council folks, and we had a nice discussion with the police department and really learned about their needs in terms of what they think they need to be more attractive. And so that'll be coming before you next week. The other pieces around solving crimes is around these license plate readers. So right now, we have around 8 installed around town. One of the other referrals I made to you all for us to discuss next week is to invest significantly more in getting more of these license plate readers. Again, these are ways that we try to solve crime. I think we also need to be looking at how we prevent crime. But I also have this hot sheet that Councilman Lippian helped me develop and helped our office develop along with EPD that helps our residents be armed with ways to report issues to EPD. We know that's one of the big ways that we solve crimes is by getting our residents to share what they have, whether it's through their Ring camera or whatever camera system they have in their homes or submitting tips anonymously. That is going to help us to solve crimes faster. So I just want to make sure that's out there. And then again, in terms of the prevention work that we do, that goes to those organizations that we invest in that are working with our young people to keep them on the right track. The work that's being done to build relationships with community. Our Parks and Rec play a big role into keeping people on the right track. Also jobs is a big factor as well, and having a strong economy solves a lot of problems. But the last thing I'll share is that I don't know if you sense like I sense, but there's a lot of anger out there. Even the way people are driving, the way people are responding to things, just as a society. We're seeing this uptick in violence and people just not being at peace. So my challenge and call to us as a community is for all of us to take the responsibility to be peacemakers, to take that deep breath and be a force for peace in our city, because we can do what we can as government, but ultimately it's us as a society that takes responsibility for our communities. So I just want to encourage our community to make sure that we're taking ownership of the safety of our community as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any comments or questions for Mr. Lippian?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. No, I just wanted to speak a little bit to what the mayor said. I had the chance to meet a young gentleman who lives on Purdue today, whose name is Eddie, and he's a police officer for the Cleveland Clinic. And he says that the police department has reached out to him, would like to recruit him. And he had mentioned that if conditions were right, he would love to be able to do a lateral transfer to the Elyria Police Department. He's exactly the kind of young guy that we want on our force. So my hope is that whatever we strike on would be able to attract newer and fresher candidates. So thanks for all the efforts that we have yet to do on that front. Hopefully they're fruitful.
Any other questions for the mayor? All right. Mr. Lundy, Safety Service Director.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Well, Elyria is going to be center stage on Saturday. We've got the Rev 22, the race and the walk that will be taking place. The whole purpose is to raise awareness to the very sad numbers of suicides among veterans in this country. The race registration ends and the race begins, rather, at 7:30 that morning. And then also there's a walk tied in with that begins at 9 a.m. So for folks who want to participate, we certainly hope you'll come out. I know that we'll have all hands on deck for that so that everything goes smoothly. But it was just great that they selected our community to run the race in. So a good way to come out and support our veterans and show your support for the runners. We're thrilled that they're coming into our community for that. Also want to report on some great work in heavy lifting that was done recently over at our central maintenance garage. I mean, you know, I've said it all along from the first couple weeks I was here. I'm just so proud of how folks here, you know, when you pick up the phone and need something to get done or ask for assistance, they're just like, what do you need, Matt? And, you know, they just jump on it right away. A big project that we had in the county was making sure that our whole fleet of vehicles was actually compliant with the EPA mandated government fleet reporting requirements. That required a lot of work. Want to give a special shout out tonight to Kim Klein, who works over there, and Joe Strozak, I think, pointed out best in this email, saying that no one really knows how much work goes into this process. It involves double checking all the VIN numbers, the license plate numbers, along with her answering the phones, you know, every 3 minutes with someone calling about something. But not only was this report completed in a professional manner, it was completed ahead of time and with a smile. So please make sure that council knows that we are compliant, and Mrs. Klein should be recognized for a job well done. So we want to recognize her for that. And just in closing, just reminding everybody that obviously the trees and Mother Nature are deciding to start dropping some leaves. We're asking that the leaves be raked in rows close to, but not in the street, please. And please don't mix in branches or twigs. That can cause damage to our equipment. Obviously, due to unpredictable weather, there's no daily schedule. I think we had a couple of folks call about that today, but you know, rain and snow can significantly impact the collection process. We'll work to be as efficient as possible. We also ask that you please not park your car in front of the area where the leaf pile is. This could obviously result in leaves not being collected. And that completes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Lundy. Any questions for Mr. Lundy? Okay. Finance Director Plesky.
No report, Mr. President, but I would like to wish everybody that's on the ballot tomorrow good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Plesky. Law Director Deary.
Thank you through you, Mr. President. I have no formal report, but as always, I'm available for questions. If not now, you know where to find me, either email or phone number. Thank you.
Any questions for the Law Director? All right. Elyria Police Department. Chief Felco.
Good evening. So we've had a busy couple of weeks. I'd like to start with some of the good points for our week, or for the past since we last met. The Elyria Police Department has received the AAA Platinum Award. This award is given to us by AAA for traffic safety, for improvements, and reducing accidents in the city. I would like to thank Ms. McKillips and her office, and especially Gina Rothgary. She plays a vital role in this, in collaborating with us to improve the streets, the intersections, traffic patterns throughout the city. So it's a great accomplishment. I thank my men and women in blue for providing safety and traffic enforcement, so this is a safe city to travel in. So congratulations to them and to Ms. Rothgary and Ms. McKillips for helping us out with that. I'm currently collaborating with the Domestic Relations Court and the Juvenile Advocacy Center. So what this program is this is a some social services where you try and get the younger juvenile individuals involved before they get into the juvenile justice system, the criminal justice system. We had a meeting with them. We're looking to have them have some office hours at the Elyria Police Department. This is just in the planning phase right now. But I opened my doors to them and said we would be more than willing to have them in the police station a day or two, or maybe even on the weekends or the evenings, for families with troubled youth to come and talk with them to try and resolve some issues before it gets in the criminal justice system. So hopefully we can firm some things up with that and get that working for us as well. We're also collaborating with the Elyria School Systems for a Handle with Care program. What this is if the police department deals with a juvenile in their school system and has a traumatic event, we can notify the schools that we had a situation with that person. We wouldn't go into any details about it. We would just say, type in Handle with Care under the child's name. They would get notified that the police dealt with this child, and if for some reason that day that child's having a bad day, they would know that the police interacted with them, and they can then pull that child aside and try and get them some more social services or the help they need. So we just started implementing that, and hopefully that'll help us out, take care of some of the needs of children in traumatic situations. We had a promotion. Sergeant Walker got promoted due to a sergeant veteran leaving to go to Westlakes. So congratulations to Mike Walker on his role. He's currently working our A platoon, which is a day shift from 6A to 6P. I look forward to his leadership here at the police department. We also had two lateral hires, Garen Rose and Dustin Hackney, who both came from Newburgh Heights Police Department, so they're currently enrolled in our field training program, and we hope to have them on the road on their own in 3 to 4 months. Let's start with let's get down to the nitty gritty now for some of the things that happened. So just so you all know, about 2 weeks ago we had a barricaded suspect down in Wilkes Villa. We got a call of shots fired. Went down there, we identified who the suspect was. He barricaded himself in his residence. Ultimately, we had to call out our special response team. After hours of negotiations, in the early morning hours, we were able to get him to come out and surrender. I appreciate everybody's support for coming down with that. I know the mayor, the director, Lundy, came down to help us and gave us some assistance with that. And a big shout out to my guys for having patience and working with everyone to have a peaceful resolution to that. Shortly after that, we had a homicide on A Street where a young lady was ambushed and murdered. The front passenger of her vehicle was also seriously injured in that. My detectives are still currently following up on leads and working to apprehend a suspect in that. Shortly after that, we had our Walmart incident. Subject in Walmart parking lot got shot and killed. We were able to track down the suspect to Oberland. We arrested him, and he's now sitting at the county jail. The victim was from Grafton. The suspect was from Oberlin. From what we know, they have no Elyria connections. It just so happened that they met up in the Walmart parking lot. And this leads me to our latest event on Sunday morning when we had the officer-involved shooting. If those of you didn't see my press release, One of my officers was actually eating his lunch in one of the parking lots in the area of Broad and Abbey when he heard squealing tires from a car driving erratically. So he stopped his lunch and went to go see who could have been possibly doing that. He observed the vehicle in the Speedway parking lot that he suspected might have been involved. He approached the vehicle, tried talking with the person that was connected to that vehicle. Ultimately, he was dragged while he was inside the car trying to apprehend this individual. The vehicle drove down at a high rate of speed down Abbey Road where it crashed into the house at the end of the intersection. I believe it's 39009. We had called off the pursuit prior to that because he was lost sight of him. We discovered the crash. When the officer got there, the driver was no longer in the vehicle. We were able to track him down to Carroll Lane. He barricaded himself inside of Carroll Lane, and then from there, he got into a car inside the garage. He revved the engine, accelerated it, drove through the garage door, struck one of our cruisers. The tires were literally on fire. As he was coming out of there, his tires were spinning so fast. My officers opened fire on him. They feared for their safety and their lives. Luckily, he was only shot in the arm. We rendered aid to him, transported him to the hospital. He was treated and released. My officer that was dragged was treated and released. He had a couple bumps and bruises, but they'll be okay. All the officers that were involved were placed on administrative leave per policy. They have to be on leave for 3 days. We are sending them to a psychologist where they'll get evaluated, medically cleared. We'll review the situation, and we hope to have them back on the road as soon as we can. But with that said, I would like to thank, there were multiple people out there that helped us out with that. Elyria Fire, Mayor, the Director all came out to help us. Ohio State Patrol, the Lorain County Sheriff's Department, Grafton Police, North Ridgeville Police, all helped us respond to that situation. So we're really grateful, thankful to those agencies for helping us out. So with that said, I'll answer any questions, and I too, along with Auditor Pileski, would like to wish you all the best of luck in your elections for tomorrow. So,
Thank you, Chief Pelko. Any questions for Chief Pelko? Chief, like the mayor had said, this has been a tough road to hoe, but I can say for the men and women of Elyria Police Department, you guys are stepping up like you always do and do the best of your ability of what you can, the situations that are at hand. So we thank you for your leadership for that department.
I thank you.
Elyria Fire Department, Chief Pernesti. Any questions for Chief Pernesti? All right, Mr. Williams, Assistant Safety Service Director. Very good. Any questions for Mr. Williams? I think that covers everybody. President's referrals and remonstrances. Item number 1, community development. Item number 2, community development. Item number 3, community development finance. Item number 4, finance. Item number 5, finance. Item number 6, finance. Item number 7, finance. Item number 8, finance. Item number 9, finance. Item number 10, finance. Item number 11, finance and utilities. Item number 12, utilities. Item 13, utilities. Items 14 through 15, received and placed on file in the clerk's office. Petitions and remonstrances from the lobby.
We have several. Greg Fanning, 6025 Haven Crest Court, reforms in Elyria.
To the clerk's office, I know that we have quite a few residents who want to make remonstrances, so we do have a limit of a 3-minute limit. Mr. Fanning, please welcome to City Council. State your name and address for the record.
That would help, wouldn't it? Okay. All right. My name is Greg Fanning, 6025 Haven Crest Court, North Ridgeville. Well, like I said, my name's Greg Fanning. I'm running for clerk of Elyria Municipal Court. I'm 21 years old, youngest candidate in the state running for this. Some might say I'm uninitiated into local politics, but I think that's a good thing. I'm a newcomer. I've made mistakes in my life, but so has every person in this room and every person in this city. But that's nothing compared to the mistakes Elyria's ruling class has made for generations upon generations. Name a few. Councilman Tillette's treasurer is my opponent, Clerk Eric J. Rothgary. Tillette's treasurer could have been Lou Albert, but he picked the clerk, who's also his wife's boss, to say the least.
Mr. Fanning, this is not here to critique or who are the affiliations of your opponent and coming up here on to make your remarks in regards to your political running for office. That's not what this is about.
Well, I think it's under the freedom of speech, isn't it?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, obviously there's free speech, but Mr. Fanning indicated reforms in Elyria was his topic, so I would ask that all who want to come and speak would stick to what they indicated that their topic is. So that being said, obviously, yes, all members of the audience are allowed to speak for their 3 minutes. So, but I would remind the speaker and all speakers that they did indicate what their subject would be. So, for the record, thank you.
Continue on, Mr. Fanning.
Thank you. All right, let's see here. Here's another one as Mary Soroka, Safety Service Director for Avon Lake. Before that, she was Safety Service Director for Elyria. Before that, she was a councilwoman. Before that, she was assistant to Mayor Keys. Now she's running against Councilman Corbin. To me, she feathered a nest for Kevin Brubaker, who feigned loyalty to Mayor Whitfield until he got a one-year job at Avon Lake, ditched Elyria, and stabbed his former boss in the back against him to run against him for mayor. You can't make this stuff up. How is it that so many Elyria city leaders come from so few families? You have to follow the money. Brubaker got donations from Mayor Greg Zilka of Avon Lake, who gave him a job. Mary Soroka, Phil Tillett, Michael Lotko, and Eric Rothgary got donations from Mary Soroka, Phil Tillett, Ted Pileski, and Kevin Brubaker. And the question I ask, these families have had the grip of power for generations, and where has it gotten us? Crime is up, poverty is up, jobs are down, population is down. Our government has become less efficient, it's become less transparent, and it's become less focused on public service and more focused on self-enrichment. It's become more about drama and less about solutions for everyday people. Do people want to continue the status quo? Everything wrong with politics is here. We desperately need new, fresh faces, new blood, and change. We shouldn't be beholden to any political party or family. And it's both parties, it's not just one. We should choose democracy over dynasty every time. That's what I bring. I hope I get to represent the people soon, impartially, without any loyalty to a political party or financial interests. Thank you.
Patrick Spears, 267 Northfield Drive, increased crime and police manpower.
Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Patrick Spears. I live at 267 Northfield Drive, Elyria, Ohio, 44035. Good evening, members of council, Mr. President, Honorable Mayor. My name is Patrick Spears, and I'm an independent candidate for the Elyria City Council 4th Ward position. But besides that, I'm also an auxiliary police sergeant for another jurisdiction, an Elyria resident, and the safety issues rising in recent times concern me very greatly. Elyria has seen an increase in our crime rates while our police roster has very likely stagnated or reduced, and the correlation between the two is obvious. Where there are fewer police present, the more criminals feel safe to carry out their deeds with less fear of consequences. As a result, we are struggling to contain the influx of crime we're experiencing. Without sufficient police patrolling our streets, the less safe our city will become. It is a sad commentary when you read on social media that Elyria residents are afraid to send their children to school, to play outside, leave their homes, or even just go to the grocery store, lest they fall victim to violent crime. But how can we increase police staffing when some of the biggest issues troubling our police department are retention and recruitment? Veteran officers are not staying, and academy graduates aren't interested in us. Why is that, and how do we change it? Other agencies seem to offer more incentives to join them, while we have less to offer. While the issue is also tied to historically low academy enrollment across the country, and while there's blame to go around everywhere, all the police departments are scrambling for the fewer and fewer recruits that there are out there. Elyria PD is known to be one of the lowest paid police departments relative to a city of our size, so increasing pay across the board would certainly be a good start. But we can also give officers other reasons to consider Elyria Police Department. As mentioned before, we could consider ideas like signing bonuses, relocation incentives, more tuition reimbursement, increased funding for training, more career advancement opportunities, such as a new violent crime task force, an animal control unit, etc. There are a lot of ideas and different ways to make our police department more attractive to outside candidates. It may take some difficult decision-making, some brainstorming, and more sharing of the city's coffers to make these changes happen, but each one of them would be a more prudent and major investment in our city's safety, future, and prosperity. Without it, things will only get worse, and we'll wish we did something sooner. It's time to back the men and women in blue more than we already do. Let's up the ante in our commitment to public safety. Let's get them what they need to increase their ranks and give them the resources that they need to fight back against the growth of crime in our city. Let's pull out the stops and make Elyria a safer, healthier, and more attractive place to live. Thank you.
Michael S. Whitlock, 5598 Wallace Boulevard, North Ridgeville. No subject.
Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Michael S. Whitlock, 5598 Wallace Boulevard, North Ridgeville. I'm not running for public office. My name is Michael Whitlock, and while I'm not a resident of Elyria, I speak on behalf of two individuals, Dennis and Patricia Campanelli, who are the current owners of the home at the intersection of South Abbey and Chestnut Ridge. They've been there for 3 decades. This house is sadly an infamous one within this community. It has been the site of numerous traffic accidents with a long list of causes: careless driving, impaired operation, sudden medical emergencies, alleged mechanical failure, etc., etc. In the early hours of this past Sunday morning, a new cause has joined that growing list. A high-speed police chase resulting in extreme personal property damage to the homeowner's vehicles and home. They, once again, escaped any physical injury and dodged death. As the Dodge Challenger STR Hellcat came to rest 2 feet away from their bed in which they slept, but not before striking and demolishing the vehicles within the driveway and the garage, careened the car in the garage through the back wall. But this also was not before it launched a 1,000-pound boulder through the front door 20 feet into the house. An object intended to assist in protecting the occupants had ultimately been turned into an unstoppable projectile. I'm emotional because my grandchildren, my children, my nieces and nephews sit around the coffee table where that boulder went through. This is only the latest in the events of the history of this house. In 2017, there was an accident that claimed the lives of 3 individuals, the driver and his pregnant girlfriend. In 2018, a vehicle again went into the bedroom of the home where my in-laws were sleeping. It's abundantly clear that no dwelling should exist at this location any longer, and I ask this council for assistance in reclaiming this property. The current homeowners have endured this burden for many years and cannot, with a clear conscience, sell it to any other resident knowing they'll be in harm's way after their departure. We ask that you reclaim this property and rezone it as permanent green space, restricting a dwelling of any kind, permanent or temporary, at that location. The Campanellis and their family members only want to live their retired golden years in peace and without worry of what tomorrow brings. After decades of tragedy and numerous accounts of proof, I ask for your serious consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitlock.
Christina Johnson Howard, P.O. Box 1132, subject John Howard Sr. and Educational Environment.
Good evening, Council. Thanks for letting me speak to you. My name is Christina Johnson Howard, and I'm here because I'm going to speak on education and also my father-in-law, which is the deceased Judge John Howard. Judge John Howard was born in the year of 1923. That year that he was born, he was considered a third-class citizen along with other people of color. Now, the problem was that here I am speaking about my father-in-law because he spoke to me on July the 25th of 2023 when he would be turning 100 years old. So I was finishing up a grant called the Tyrone Mays Red Experiment because I live in an apartment building. And because of the pandemic, I wrote the grant because I was seeing the change in people's personalities. But I digress. On that day, when I was finishing up the project, I come downstairs to get in my car to go to a spiritual conference in Huron. And I had a ticket for parking in a handicapped spot. I am a United States veteran. I serve my country proudly. I am disabled. I have a disabled for my leg. But the other thing is, my disabled sticker does not expire until 2024. This is still 2023. Now, I digress, but I think my father-in-law was talking to me because I have not really been involved politically. I just feel like Al Pacino in The Godfather, he said, I thought I was out, but they pulled me back in. Okay, this is about getting back involved politically. And I will say to the audience, if you want your city to be better, you have to make it better. That's one of the reasons why I also went back and I have tons of certificates. I'm also a clinical mental health counselor. I have a master's in that. I also have a certificate in farming. If you're not going to be farming these days, you're just going to be eating a lot of stuff that has pesticides on it. But I digress. So I want to let you know why my father-in-law loved education so much. When my father-in-law was traveling when he was traveling for college, he encountered the KKK. That did not stop him. He did not drop out. When he was coming back, he encountered the KKK. But he came back to his hometown, and within 6 months, he was in law school because he realized that without a proper education and knowing who we are as a people, that we will constantly be fighting each other. So I'm just saying that I'm pulled back into politics, and I can say that when I married into the Howard family, I married into a family of researchers. They had 4 kids. Everyone was exceptionally intelligent. My husband, he wrote the only...
Excuse me, ma'am, you've exceeded your 3 minutes.
I have, okay. Can I have
But
one
we
more
appreciate
second?
you coming up. Okay, go ahead.
One more second?
One comment.
I just want to say this. I saved my ice cream business I have an ice cream business on the south side. It's not there now, but I still have the building. But I can say this. One of my best friends that's sitting right there on council, I had to raise money. And Matt Lundy was the only one that came to my beck and call. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming up.
Evan Patrisco, 38965 Chestnut Ridge Road. Household damages from reckless drivers.
Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Evan Patrisco. I live on 38965 Chestnut Ridge Road. That is right next door to the Campanellis. I am the second person now up here for that, it seems. A fellow who came before me pretty much said the bulk of my piece. I've heard that once upon a time there was a barrier, a line of defense there, and I guess it was supposedly removed because injuries. But really, that's more of a driver issue. That's not the city's responsibility. If you're going to wreck into the wall, then that's either between you or your vehicle. It's far more important that he have some suitable defense rather than relying on boulders and trees. Like, that's ridiculous, and it's proved wholly ineffective these past 6 or 7 incidents. I don't know how many. I just know that it's been several Christmases and several other odd days of the week that, you know, I've been woken up at the wee hours of the morning of, you know, hearing like 2 cars just smash into each other. I remember telling myself, oh, that sounded like somebody T-boned someone. And I go out there, didn't see anything. And I thought, oh boy, how bad is it this time? So I could just kind of drone on, but I'll give that time to someone else since the bulk of my purpose has been kind of said for me. I'm just wondering when something's going to be done. I think it's past time. I would like it if something were to happen before they pass away as they're getting on in years. It would be nice if we did something for them.
Thank you for coming up.
Matthew Van Wormer, 235 Dennison Avenue, Community Safety.
Good evening. Quo vadis. This short Latin question roughly translates to, where are we going? And that is a question the city of Elyria needs to ask itself right now. Are we going to continue to let imported crime come into our community? Or are we going to stand together as neighbors and say that enough is enough? Several weeks ago, an eviction hearing was held and the residents of 100 Cornell Avenue were sent packing after a shooting took place. We got lucky with that one, as the owner of the property was someone local and the situation was resolved quickly. We aren't so lucky with other homes in the city that are owned by LLCs in California, New York, Florida, and Texas. We need a way to ensure that all landlords are held accountable for the people to whom they rent, and that we can get a hold of them when the need arises. When issues are reported, as it stands right now, our police don't have the numbers to respond to every call that comes in. And while that can be frustrating, we can't stop making the calls. The more information we have on problem houses or problem people or problem streets, the better chance there is that something will be done to correct the issue. I'll continue to say, if you see something, say something until I'm blue in the face, because I want better for my daughters and for all families in Elyria. The moment we become apathetic to the issues is the moment that the problems start to win. We have to work together, and we have to keep working together so that our future can be bright. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wormer.
That's all petitions from the lobby.
Petitions and remonstrances from council members.
Mr. Corbin, Ward 3, subject crime uptick in Ward 3 and possible purchase of Campanella home.
Mr. Corbin.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is going to sound like a broken record from what I've heard previously. I am running for an election to sit here in January. This is not a campaign speech. I would first like to say thank you to the fire chief and the police chief for an excellent job that they have done in my ward in the last couple of weeks with Chestnut Commons and with what we have heard tonight at 39009 Chestnut Ridge Road. Thank you both so much. There have been many recent incidences of violence in the 3rd Ward. The shooting at Chestnut Commons and the attempted traffic stopped from the Speedway south at Chestnut Ridge Sunday morning. Then a car rammed into the same house that we have already heard about several times. The Campanellis have been there for the last 7 years that I have been there. I know that they've been there for like 40 years, but in the last 4 or 5 years, 4 times vehicles speeding south on Abbey Road as it approaches Chestnut. It's just like an airport. At the end of at the end of Abbey, the road increases and the car flies. The guardrails, flashing signs are just not cutting it. This is unacceptable and we need to address it, confront it head on. To tackle these 2 issues, those being the shootings and the violence in Elyria and the collisions at the end of Chestnut Ridge, I am making 2 standing referrals today. One to the Utilities, Safety and Environment for the city to purchase through ARPA funds 2 new pair of license plate reading cameras for each ward, not to police traffic, but to have eyes on the roads for when there's violence and police can catch the perpetrators. The use policy for these cameras should be not to track citizens, but only to use the data, which should not be public record or generate any reports when the police have to investigate it for an accident or violent or other serious crime. Currently, their retention for this data does not even extend to 3 months. So that is my first standing referral. My second standing referral is to the Finance Committee for the city to discuss purchasing the property at 39009 Chestnut Ridge Road. The Campanellis have been there for 40 years. When they built and bought the property, there was nothing behind them but farmland. Today, it has changed. I would like to see the city purchase the property and determine how to repurpose it. The fact this property has been a pincushion for car crashes is a disservice to longstanding and upstanding residents of our community. We owe it to them to craft a workable solution that preserves their dignity and quality of life. Let's get these referrals going. I look forward to discussing them as a member of the Utility, Safety, and Environment Committee when they come up at the next meeting. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Corbin.
That's all the petitions from council members.
Reports of standing and special committees.
There are none.
Resolutions first reading.
There are none.
Resolutions second reading.
There are none.
Resolutions third reading.
There are none.
Ordinances first reading.
There are none.
Ordinances second reading.
There are none.
Ordinances third reading.
There are none.
Committee calls.
Community Development, request the Law Director, Safety Service Director, Building Inspector, and Engineer on 11/13, 6 p.m. Items referred. Joint CD Finance, request the Mayor, Law Director, Finance Director, Safety Service Director, and Engineer on 11/13, immediately following the Community Development meeting. Items referred. Finance, request the Mayor, Law Director, Finance Director, Safety Service Director, and Engineer on 11/13, immediately following the joint meeting. Utility Safety Environment, request the Law Director, Safety Service Director, and Engineer on 11/8 at 6 p.m. Items referred. And Strategic Planning, request the Mayor, Safety Service Director, Finance Director, and Law Director on 11/20, immediately following council.
Miscellaneous and unfinished business, Mr. Schneider.
I just wanted to take a moment and let fellow council members aware of changes regarding private septic systems. Lorraine County Public Health is requiring operation and maintenance permits. They're going to be sending out these bills in December, and they're due January 31st. In case any residents reach out, the fee is $120 for 3 years. And if no permit, if they do not receive the fee, then it'll be assessed to the tax bill. So I just wanted to take a moment and let you all know that, in case residents reach out, because there are still some septic tanks in the city. Thanks.
So we can make that part of the mayor's through our website over there, just to be as an informational piece to those residents who are still in the septic system. Is there any other miscellaneous and unfinished business from council members? We do have the executive director from Elyria Community Partnership. Ms. Monet Roberts. She was going to just kind of give us a overview of what's happening with the Elyria Community Partnership. Ms. Roberts.
Hello. I'm losing my voice. We can blame Halloween and trick-or-treating for that. Is it coming up? Okay. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you in advance to the current administration and city council. This year would not have been possible without you all. This year definitely would not be possible without your support and everything that you all have been able to do with the organization and throughout the community. Just as a recap, I will not spend too much time. I think you all got everything prior, but I do want to give a short recap for everyone. We had a few goals this year, and I am proud to say that we were truly able to meet those goals with you all's support. Just touching very briefly on the economic development, a few things that I want to highlight here is that we have been able to really get a good gist of the property owners and the business owners in this community, both connecting them with resources through some of our business development programming that we have with the luncheon that we had in April, and then also a workshop that we have November 13th for our business owners. And then something that I've been super proud to do is connect our property owners with incoming business owners downtown that want to have spaces in these vacant buildings. I know we're all excited to see these storefronts filled, so I've been super excited to connect some of our property owners with excited and eager business owners that are in the right position and the right mindset to get things done downtown Elyria. And just as an update, as far as our vibrancy projects go, we have been doing a lot of groundwork. If you guys go out, you'll see that the banners are up. They will be up until, I believe, the 11th after Veterans Day. And they will also be going back up in May of next year, just as a way to bring that light, bright, bold, colorful feel downtown. There's a QR code for residents to get involved if you're in the audience and you want to know what's happening downtown, what's new downtown, or what's new in Elyria, things that you can be excited about. We have the Historical Looking Glass project. We're just waiting on some legal matters there so that we can finalize that and get those implemented. And then we are super excited for next year, the Connect Ely space that we'll be doing. It'll consist of 2 murals and a landscaping piece for a community gathering space. As you can tell right now, walking from Ely Square to Pioneer Plaza, it can feel like a bit longer than it needs to, and this gives residents an opportunity to have something to walk towards and just another gathering space for us all to enjoy, to have a good space, to feel the art, to feel the love. I think we all need it. Mayor Whitfield talked about the anger that's in this community, and feeling that love is really positive, and we're excited to see it. As far as events go, we have truly expanded our events. We went from 4 to, I believe, 24 this year, and that is really from partnerships and building collaborative efforts. We would not have been able to do that with the amount of partnerships, without the amount of partnerships that we had this year, and we're super, super excited to continue those partnerships. And that comes from the farmers market to the movie nights, everything that we've been able to do, and we just want to say thank you to Parks and Rec because they've been an extreme, extreme pleasure to work with in this season. And I just really want to highlight this quote. It did my heart some justice when I was doing this presentation. As soon as we started revamping for Farmers Market, one of the residents in Elyria commented on Facebook and said that the Elyria Community Partnership is one of the best things that happened to the city. And I say that not just as someone who works for the organization, but as a resident, I can definitely feel the love and the change that is happening in Elyria. And I think one step at a time, we're gonna make Elyria the absolute place that we all wanna see. And I think with the support that we have from the city, from the administration, from the future residents, from the supporters, the funders, it will happen. As far as programs go, once again, I just cannot stop thanking you all for the support. Everything that you all have been able to do has been able to continue our support in existing programs, from the cleanup strategies to Memorial Day parades, Parks and Rec programming, just continuing to be able to do that. And we just continue to serve as a liaison for the community. When the community needs things, we can continue to reach out and support and give them examples of things that are happening and things that they can share. And I will say, just in case you all aren't aware, every Friday, we share out information that's going on in the community outside of our events, community-wide. And if you guys need to know what's going on in Elyria, feel free to check us out on Facebook at Elyria Community Partnership. As far as branding go, we had to make sure that we were continuing to be an action-oriented organization. Cannot thank you enough for allowing us to meet our goals. And I would continue to say that even in not being able to finalize some details this year, I think the biggest part of our action-oriented piece is remaining consistent and transparent through it all. So making sure that we're exposing our hiccups, our challenges, things that we aren't able to do, and being able to continue to communicate with you all for everything that's happening. So we appreciate the support. And just a big thank you to the City of Elyria, to the City Council, and to all of our funders and to all the residents that support the organization. And if you all have further questions, I am here to answer. And of course, if you all want sit-downs, I am always available for coffee.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Does anybody have any questions? For Ms. Well, I know you are continually working hard, Ms. Roberts, in this role as the executive director, and we appreciate your coming up here and just kind of keeping the city council informed on what's coming up moving forward and the events, and we appreciate your hard work and efforts. It's an ongoing challenge that you're working through, but you're doing a fantastic job, so we appreciate that. Ms. Davis.
Through you, Chair, I would like to ask one of the questions. How's it coming? Do you get a chance to look into the fact for the water tower on Muncie Avenue?
I will be transparent in letting you know that we have been filled with farmers market this year. It took us by storm. We did not expect the amount of time needing to be geared towards that. And honestly, without the help of the AmeriCorps Vistas, we would not have been able to do cleanup programs. We had some extra help there. But it is something that I have been looking into over the last couple of weeks just to make sure that I keep what you've asked us in mind. But I can be honest in saying that this year that was not at the forefront, and we want to make sure that we continue to keep our promises to you all as well.
Okay. Mr. Tolet.
Just one quick thing. It'll be real quick in response to Mr. Fanning's comments demeaning Mr. Rothgary. Just so everyone knows, before he got his law degree, he was a decorated combat veteran serving in the jungles of Central America for our country. He wore actually the Army infantry uniform of our country, and I thought Mr. Fanning could have had a little bit more respect before he made such disrespectful comments about him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tolet. I know there's some, does anybody else have any miscellaneous unfinished business? There was some, the mayor had already made the referral for the license plates and for the ARPA funds, so that was, we're going to have that into the finance committee, so Mr. Corbin, just you're aware of that. And then the referral for the Chestnut Ridge property it's been referred to finance. We'll look at that on the floor here. That was your referral for that. So we'll try to gather as much information before it gets to the finance committee. With that being said, to what Mr. Pileski had mentioned, good luck to everybody who's running tomorrow. Please get out there and vote. That's the most important thing over there, to exercise that right, because not too many countries have that, and individuals have that right. So please do so. With that being said, Ms. Mitchell?
Mr. President, seeing no further business, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Second by Mr. Snyder. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.